What's up everyone, and today I'm bringing a deck profile on my Dinomorphia. Now Dinomorphia is a pretty fun deck and one that I think people sleep on a whole lot because it does have a lot of cool things that this deck can do, and it's actually pretty consistent too. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And before we get into the deck profile, just make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh videos. First off, I run 3 Dinomorphia Thresia. Thresia, if it's normal special zone, you can set 1 Dinomorphia trap directly from your deck to your spell and trap zone. Also run 3 copies of the Dinomorphia Diplos. Diplos not as good as Thresia. Diplos, if it's normal special summon, you can send 1 Dinomorphia card from your deck or graveyard. Then if your life points are 2,000 or less, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. So it's got a little bit of a burn aspect, but that doesn't really matter much going into time, considering the whole point of this deck is having your life points continuously. And you want to run 3 of each of these because of the fusion cards. So like not fusion cards specifically, but a lot of times you're going to be sending them from the deck to the graveyard as fusion material. Next, I play 1 Soul Eating Overraptor. Overraptor, when it is summoned, you can take 1 dinosaur monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to your graveyard. This is very good because this gives us access to 2 other dinosaurs. Obviously, it gives us access to any of the dinosaurs, so you can even use it for Thresia. So most often you're going to use it for either the Miscellaneous Source or one of your 2 copies of Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Having Misc is nice, obviously, for that protection, but I really like having Ultimate Conductor Tyranno in the deck. There are some builds where they don't play it, and I feel like playing Dinomorphia, you have to play the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Mainly, Tyranno is good at really disrupting your opponent, as well as being a good card to sort of like clear the board and end the game, which is where this deck lacks a little bit. Well, it can make things difficult for your opponent as the boss monster. It's a Floodgate monster, much like Flundry's M-Pen, but I'd say it's even better than M-Pen. Having Ultimate Conductor Tyranno as like a secondary, more so like win condition, is definitely really nice. Next, I run 3 copies of Lilith, Lady of Lament. Lilith is really good because when it's normal summon, you can tribute 1 dark monster, quick effect, to reveal 3 normal traps from your deck, and your opponent randomly chooses 1. And they can all be of the same, so they don't have to be different, which is really good. It searches a lot of your key cards as well as some additional good cards if you have what you need. As a Domain and Frenzy, you want to have at least one copy of either of those, so 1 of 6 is pretty good. And if you can get it with Thresia or you have an Opening, you can also summon Lilith. Then you can also add just a normal trap that is just all around really good, you know, just a really good card. And for hand traps, only run 3 Ash. We don't really care for hand traps too much. I'd say the only one that's probably problematic would be Imperm, or maybe something like Forbidden Droplets or Dark Rulers. So just something that can turn off your monster effects, which I feel like not a lot of people right now are playing Dark Ruler or Droplets. Imperm obviously they're playing. Imperm is obviously being played, but you do have other ways of sort of like disrupting your opponent. That's why I also like having the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, just in case maybe they have an Imperm, then Tyranno will sort of help keep your opponent kind of in check. Moving on to the spells, and we don't have too many, just 9, like the 3 Fossil Dig, which searches all your monsters because you can add 1 level 6 or lower dinosaur monster. So basically everything except Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Also run 3 copies of Pod Duality. This is something new added to the deck because one thing I noticed, going first, you're not really going to special summon too much. Unless you want to like special summon Ultimate Conductor Tyranno first turn, which you're not always going to have access to it because if you don't have the Overraptor or the Fossil Dig, they're not going to be able to get access to your Ultimate Conductor Tyranno as much. So having the Pod Duality is really good. You can just add a trap or a starter if you need it, and you're only going to be special summoning more so on your opponent's turn or your second turn. So having this is definitely really good for consistency. Also run 3 double summon. I decided to put double summon in just because we have several monsters that have an effect when they're summoned and we don't have ways to special summon them. Like Thresia, Overraptor, Lilith. We don't have any ways to special summon them to the field. Now we do have ways to search them, but having a double summon definitely really helps, especially if you have multiple of the Thresia, Overraptor, or Lilith. Because if you can only normal summon 1 of them, Threes is going to be what you're going to go for most times, unless you already have Domain and Frenzy, then you'd probably go for Overraptor for Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. But if you have double summon in that scenario, then you can also use it for Lilith. And then that can add you either Domain or Frenzy, or just some of your, really annoying traps that people really hate. Moving on to traps, I run 3 copies of Domain and 3 copies of Frenzy. These are the fusion traps. Domain, you can fusion summon a monster by sending 2 monsters from your deck, and Frenzy is using 1 from your deck and 1 from your extra deck. Which most oftentimes you're going to send the Stealth Bergia from your extra deck, because Stealth Bergia really isn't that great, but you can use it for the fusion fodder, and then it just builds the grave up for something like Ultimate Conductor Parano the next turn. And they both have additional effects while they're in the graveyard. Like if you're up for Frenzy, when your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard. You take no battle damage from your opponent's card effects this turn. Usually they have some sort of like damage protection or something like that. Considering the cost of the Dinomorphia cards is to have your life points. Now, normally that would be a bad thing, but that actually works in the benefit of the boss monster, the Rexturn, which we will get into a bit. But you want to get your life points sort of as low as possible. While this deck is definitely really cool, unfortunately, the gimmick kind of makes it a little hard to operate in time, because obviously your life points is going to be very low. So you just cannot go into time with this deck unless you have something like Ghost Sister. But if your opponent knows you're playing Dinomorphia, they're not going to really be doing too much. So if you're not going into time, this deck can be insane. Next, I run 3 copies of Dinomorphia Sonic. Sonic is like the spell and trap negation, so it really helps to go through some annoying back rows and stuff. Like, let's say they have for example, let's say they have Imperm. This is a way to kind of protect yourself against something like that, or even droplets if they don't get rid of a trap. I think the only thing that it's not going to stop is Dark Ruler No More, or something like Super Polymerization. But then again, can't really respond to either of those cards that much. Or I believe, I don't know, you can actually negate Dark Ruler with this, because I had to check Dark Ruler real quick. So yes, Sonic does negate Dark Ruler. So really the only card that's you can't really deal with is Super Polymerization. Everything else, if you have a copy of Sonic, then you can deal with it. You can deal with Imperm, you can deal with droplets in most cases, you can deal with Dark Ruler. So it really adds that layer of protection. Or if you just want to use this to really hinder your opponent's plays, but the Rexturn itself is going to do plenty of that. Next, I play 3 copies of Dinomorphia Intact. Intact, when a monster effect is activated while you control a Dinomorphia card, pay half your life points to negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. So Sonic is the spell trap negation, Intact is the monster effect negation. Granted, I don't know how likely they're going to be able to activate their effects, because the more you have your life points, the more it's going to affect how many monsters can actually activate their effects. But there are some things that Rexturn doesn't affect. The main use for Intact is like a hand trap. So the cool thing, like with the one downside with Rexturn, it only affects cards on the field. It doesn't affect anything in the hand or the grave. But Intact can negate cards in the hand or the grave. So if they want to, like, for example, use something like an Ogre or a Veiler or something like that, and if you have Intact set on the field, then you can just activate it and you can negate those hand traps. Or if you have a opponent has a play from the grave, you can also stop that as well. Next, I run 1 copy of Dinomorphia Brute. Brute, pay half your life points to destroy 1 Dinomorphia monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls. I only run 1 of this because it's destruction, but yes, you have to get rid of 1 of your cards, and sometimes it's not really going to be ideal, especially if all you have is like Rexturn and Kentragina, because you definitely want to keep those cards on the field. But Brute will come up in certain scenarios, especially if you need to get rid of an annoying card, because Dinomorphia Intact has to negate something, while Brute can sort of navigate the card effects that sort of linger or don't have to activate in order for the effects to be live. And lastly, 3 Eradicator Epidemic Virus. When I was looking at this deck, I was like, okay, I need a trap that's really good, that's going to shut off a lot, and then I can search. So I was thinking the Eradicator works. It's a normal trap, so it's searchable off of Lilith, and obviously you can potentially see it with the Pod Duality as well. Granted, it's not the easiest thing to get into, but it's probably as easy as it's going to get. Considering most of the Floodgates are limited, we really don't have a lot we can take care of. And the best sort of Floodgate cards that we have left in the game are Eradicator and Dimensional Barrier. D-Barrier is pretty cool, but I like Eradicator Epidemic Virus much better in this deck, because with Rexturn you're already going to be negating a lot of monster effects, whereas spell or traps are going to be pretty much live, except if you have a Sonic. And being able to, for 3 turns, completely shut off spells is just downright insane, especially if you're playing a spell-focused deck, like let's say you're playing Sky Striker, which actually had that happen to me where, I think it was like maybe a year ago or something like that. I went to tournaments with Sky Strikers and someone activated the epidemic virus on me. They were playing live with them, like, well, I can't even play. And there's a lot of decks that rely on spells quite a bit. So virus is really going to shut that down. And even if you don't have Rex turn, if you can get to virus, you're still in a good spot regardless. Because being able to shut down spells completely is going to very much limit your opponent. Moving on to the extra deck monsters, where we play 3 Rex turn. Rex turn is the Floodgate monster. Your opponent can activate the effects of monsters they control that have attack greater or equal to your life points. So let's say you get your life points down to 500. Then any monsters with 500 or more attack, they cannot activate their effects. Sure, passive effect still works, but most effects have to be activated, and we don't really have a whole lot of passive effects that are that popular in the game. They exist, but they're the minority. And the cool thing with Rex turn is even if they have something with a low attack, it's got a secondary effect to make all monsters your opponent controls become the same as your life points. So let's say they have a very strong monster that has 200 attack. Just use Rex turn and the attack of that monster will become 500 and its effects can no longer be active. Rex turn is just very powerful, and if you can get this onto the field, which it's very easy to get out because all you need is 1 copy of Domain or 1 copy of Frenzy. You got plenty of ways to get to it, then you can get to it easily, especially since we have Dinomorphia Kentragina. Kentragina can essentially copy the effect of any Dinomorphia trap. So for example, let's say you have Frenzy. You activate Frenzy, pay half your life points, go to Kentragina, use Kentragina, half your life points again, and then you can bring out Rex turn. So you have both Kentragina and Rex turn on the field, and you already have your life points twice down to 2,000. And obviously you can use Rex turn to have it again. And that's not including if you have other Dinomorphia spells or traps to lower your life points even further. Next we run 3 copies of Stealthburgia. While your life points are 2,000 or less, you do not pay life points to activate trap cards or Dinomorphia monster effects. The effect is kind of meh, as it kind of contradicts the deck a bit. You want to have your life points as low as possible, because getting it to say 2,000, you do not want that because there's several good monsters lower than 2,000 attack. I'd say getting your life points down to 1,000 is very solid because there's not really any good monsters that can really remove or do anything with your Rex turn that have less than 1,000 attack. But the reason why I run 3 is I mainly use it for Frenzy fodder. Because Frenzy requires you to send a Dinomorphia from your deck and extra deck to the graveyard. Since there's only 2 Dinomorphia main deck monsters, if you activate a certain amount of time, or if you activate Domain a certain amount of times, you're going to run out of materials. And you won't really be able to summon any more Dinomorphias, which could put you in a bit of a bind. But having something like Frenzy being able to use Stealthburgia gives us more access to be able to fusion more monsters out. Now for the rest of the monsters, they're not too important, as mostly what you're going to end on is Kentragina, or well, you're not really going to end on anything, you're going to summon them on your opponent's turn, but mostly what you're going to use is the Kentragina and the Rex turn. But just in case they do come up, I run 1 Daguerreus for a little bit of draw power, Dweller to take care of those negates. Also run 1 number 106 Giant Hand. It's got a negation during your opponent's turn, which is good. 1 evolves our Solda. Solda was a last minute addition to this deck because I was looking for made like some good rank 4s I could use because, you know, Overraptor, Theresia, and Diplos are all level 4. Then I noticed that Kentragina and Stealthburgia are level 6, so we do have access to Solda. Granted, we're not going to go into too much, but if you have just Kentragina and Stealthburgia on the field and you don't have access to Rex turn, then having Solda as sort of the fallback option is pretty good. And lastly, 2 copies of Zeus, just because Zeus is just really good and how easily you can just remove cards. That's it for my Dinomorphia deck. Let me know what you think of Dinomorphias. I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.